Hey guys, LevelCap here and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. Battlefield 1 Premium owners got their first taste of the new In the Name of the Tsar DLC weapons this week. Featuring 8 new guns and a new map, the CTE update shows that some serious weapon variety is coming to Battlefield 1 soon. If you want the full breakdown on the new map and weapons, be sure to check out the video I did on it this week. Personally, I'm looking forward to the new content as it seems like DICE are including some really usable weapon options. In the Name of the Tsar is scheduled for a September release, so I'm sure a lot will change from now to then. The map currently on CTE, Brusilov Keep, still needs a bit of work, but it's a solid looking map. How DICE plans to balance the new weapons has me a bit curious. As it stands, some of them are actually really good, especially compared to some of the vanilla weapons. This month, Battlefield 1's player base has reached 21 million registered players, but it's still tough finding active PC servers for the They Shall Not Pass content. Hopefully the new DLC offering the improved weapon variety will bring players back to the game. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has had a rough couple of weeks regarding its somewhat reactionary community. Not a big surprise on having a reactionary community, but the fact that they've had back-to-back weeks of controversy hasn't really helped them out too much. Players were initially troubled by the announcement of loot crates that largely resemble the CSGO system, requiring a $2.50 key to unlock. These loot crates will be available during the Gamescom Invitational event. I already did a whole video covering this subject and what I think about it, but ultimately I think it really comes down to the fact that people are upset that early on they said they weren't going to add paid DLC content until the game officially launches, and now they're going back on that word. Is it going to be a slippery slope of the devs going back on a lot of their other words, or is this just a one-time incident? It doesn't appear that any of the cosmetic items will in any way give players an advantage regarding camouflage or blending into the environment, so there isn't really much of an issue there. In positive PUBG news, we got confirmation that the first-person only servers and FOV slider will be in the next monthly patch. Pending any major issues, it will release on August 3rd and also includes the Mark 14 semi-automatic or fully automatic rifle. It's considered a sniper rifle like the SKS and also fires 7.62 ammunition, and unfortunately it will only be added to the supply drops, so you're not going to be able to find this in the general world. Granted, PUBG did go back and make the VSS only a weapon that would be found in the game world as opposed to supply crates, so hopefully this will be something that they do to the Mark 14 at some point. Also, the leaderboards in PUBG will now be reset at the first of every month as the devs work out the game's ranking system and matchmaking. Hopefully their final system will be similar to just about every other competitive shooter out there, which is a competitive mode and a casual mode. Pretty straightforward. One is ranked, the other is not. Hopefully they can get that through their heads. The console version of PUBG is currently in development. According to PlayerUnknown, in an interview with Eurogamer, their Xbox One X prototype build is running at about 30 FPS on 100-man servers. Considering that a fairly decent PC can barely run the game at over 60 FPS, I'd say that's pretty decent performance for a console. Killing Floor 2's Xbox One port has been announced. Launching August 29th for $40, the game will include all previously released DLC packs and some timed exclusive DLC content. Xbox One X players will have support for the upgraded console when it launches on November 7th. The patch that enables Xbox One X support will allow the game to run at 4K and increase overall performance on the console. Destiny 2's PC beta date has been announced. Starting on August 28th, all players that have pre-ordered Destiny 2 will get access to the beta. It will feature a single-player mission, a strike, and PvP. On console, Destiny 2 performs admirably, but it's still locked at 30 FPS. The PC version of the game was rock solid at the reveal event, but how it will perform on an average person's PC has yet to be determined. The recommended specs are decidedly mid-range, but there's no indication if players that meet them will expect 30 FPS or 60 FPS. Bungie have said the PC version will feature an unlocked frame rate. LAWBREAKERS Open Beta is back again this week for all players on the PC. A sandbox tutorial mode has been added since the game's previous beta last month, as well as balance tweaks, improvements to matchmaking, and full character customization. Big changes for Rainbow Six Siege are in the works. The devs will be spending the next year reworking the game's textures, lighting effects on all maps, sky models, reflections, and more. The examples given as part of the announcement look very promising. Since its launch, Siege players have complained about the outdoor lighting being needlessly bright when looking through windows and holes in the walls. The new lighting system looks much more refined, especially in dark environments. The devs are working on optimization and data cleanup on several areas of the game and will be detailing those improvements soon. Character models will also be reworked to use less memory and look overall better. These changes will be going live with Season 3's content, with all the maps and operators eventually being overhauled within the next year. More improvements are expected to be made as part of the ongoing season of content, Operation Health, hitboxes being chief among those changes. Details regarding Ghost Recon Wildlands' upcoming PvP mode have been leaked. It will feature at least 9 maps and is mostly a traditional PvP affair. Players, including myself, had hoped to see a Battle Royale game mode of some kind be implemented given how incredible the game's world is, but it looks like the devs are going with a more traditional system for now. The PvP is entering beta soon and should be released in the next few months. Extended gameplay footage from Wolfenstein: The New Colossus has made its way online and shows a much more vibrant and lived-in world compared to 2014's The New Order. The first game featured incredibly detailed hub areas with NPCs the player could interact with, but the actual missions took you through areas that were mostly devoid of anything but Nazis and guns. The New Colossus looks like it will feature much more fleshed out mission areas with more NPC activity and areas to explore. The New Order was praised for just how much depth and character that the world had, and it looks like the New Colossus will be an even deeper game. The SNES Classic Edition all-in-one console, scheduled for release by Nintendo this September, was available for pre-order on Walmart's website earlier this week. The pre-orders sold out in minutes, but unfortunately, they're all being canceled. Claiming the pre-orders were made available by accident, Walmart issued refunds to anyone that was charged. The previous Classic Edition console Nintendo released, the NES Classic, sold out in minutes and was only available in limited quantities. Customers are hopeful the upcoming SNES Classic won't be as rare, and Nintendo has promised more of the SNES Classic would be made to meet the overwhelming demand for the retro console. Splatoon 2 has caused a huge surge in sales for the Nintendo modern console, the Switch. The console recently broke 4.7 million total units sold and was the week's top-selling console in Japan at 99,000 units sold, up from the previous week's 32,000 units sold. Nintendo also recently announced their Pokemon RPG for the Switch, which will launch sometime in 2018 or later. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered's standalone edition has launched, and the PC version is getting kinda slammed by players upset about the game's poor performance, among other things. Anticipation for the title was already very low. Combined with the bad reviews, it looks like getting a match in anything other than TDM is pretty much impossible. The developers of the PvP survival game Friday the 13th recently came under fire for starting work on a new game while their current game remained fairly buggy and in desperate need of patches on the console. The devs quickly took to social media, reassuring players that Friday the 13th was not being abandoned. Fortunately, they're living up to the promise, as the first major patch for the game in months has been released. Key issues addressed were related to matchmaking and some of the other more major bugs. Console players should be able to find matches much more quickly in particular. For Honor will also be receiving some major updates in the coming year. The game lost a huge portion of its player base due to peer-to-peer matchmaking, causing a wide variety of gameplay issues, among other things. In the coming months, Ubisoft will be patching the game to support dedicated servers, in addition to adding more heroes, cosmetic items, maps, and game modes. When exactly players can expect the dedicated servers to launch is unclear, but the sooner the better for the entire community. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. I am still extremely excited for that next PUBG patch that's going to introduce first-person mode and a new weapon, plus the Gamescom loot crates, and console is in the works, operating at 30 FPS, but then again, so are most console games these days apparently. So it's better than nothing, and I'm just excited to get the console community in on the magic of PUBG. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.